All of the grades that you see attributed to the prospects in this video will be coming directly from our football game plan scouting prospect rankings videos, where you can check out all 532 prospect rankings on our website at footballgameplan.com/FBGP scouting. The Baltimore Ravens have done a great job of working through a roster transition via free agency and the NFL draft, and it's clear by the 5 selections on the defensive side of the ball, that's where the focus mainly was this past April. Marlon Humphrey out of Alabama fits the mold of a Ravens cornerback, physical and aggressive. With Tyus Bowser out of Houston, the hope is that his football skills, which didn't quite show up at times on film, are able to catch up to his outstanding athletic gifts. And Nico Saragusa out of San Diego State is coming from a power rushing offense and should provide quality depth up front. I was a huge fan of the Chris Wormley and Tim Williams selections. Wormley was the best defensive lineman on the Michigan Wolverine squad and is one that you would aptly describe as just a football player. He can serve multiple roles up front and should thrive in the Ravens defense. Tim Williams was a pass rushing specialist at Alabama, and one could only imagine that he'll start out initially as that for Baltimore. As he becomes more familiar with the defense, he'll be on the field a lot more, which is not what you want to hear if you're an opposing quarterback. Williams was my #1 rated outside linebacker in this draft, and he lands in the perfect spot. Donald Payne out of Stetson was a 3-time football game plan preseason FCS All-American. He played strong safety for the Hatters of Stetson, but will more than likely transition to an outside linebacker role with Baltimore. His experience playing coverage along with his physicality makes him an ideal new age nickel linebacker. Patrick Ricard out of Maine has the athleticism and the versatility to play multiple roles up front. I like how he's able to use his hands to get off blocks, which helped him live in the opposing backfield throughout the course of his college career. Now, the Ravens desperately needed help at the wide receiver position, and they grabbed my #1 rated inside wide receiver in Quincy Adebojo out of Ole Miss. Now, he runs great routes and is consistently able to create separation because of it. He's also dependable going over the middle of the field and should find a role within his offense. I'm intrigued by Aaron Bailey of Northern Iowa. I compared his game to Cordell Stewart when he came out of Colorado, as I saw progression from him as a passer over the last 2 seasons. However, he did rush for nearly 1,500 yards as a junior and is extremely dangerous with the ball in his hands. Now, the Ravens have a guy like this on the roster already in Keenan Reynolds, but Bailey gives him a bigger version of that and is one to watch throughout the course of training camp. I gave the Ravens a B+ for their draft. Great defensive additions on this football team as they continue to add youthful and versatile talent on the roster. What kept this from being an A class, so to speak, is the lack of a premier option at wide receiver or, quite honestly, at running back. I still feel like the Ravens need a true threat at those positions, but you can't argue with the defensive talent that they've added, like Humphrey, Wormley, and of course, Tim Williams.